Welcome to the 45th edition of Stump the Pastor. Our question today comes from James in Dallas. And he asks, in the creation story, as God creates, the creation is called good. So then we hear the story of Adam and Eve in the garden in a world God created and called good. So then what would be the purpose of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in a world that God created and called good? Great question, James. First of all, I just want to note that in the 45 editions we have now produced of Stump the Pastor, by far the largest number of questions asked have had something to do with the creation stories. This is one of 5 questions I have either featured or which remain in my upcoming list. So that's about 10%. No other topic comes close. So you'll remember from previous Stump the Pastor episodes, if you don't know them, you can find them on our webpage or in our Facebook page. There are actually 2 creation stories. The first creation story in Genesis 1 has the 7-day motif where something was created and God pronounced it good. In this creation story, in Genesis 1, there is no mention of evil. Everything God created was good or very good. In the second creation story, in Genesis 2, a very different account occurs. This is the story that has the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So only here in chapter 2, verse 9, does the concept of evil appear in the story. The creation story itself doesn't tell us what evil is, but simply notes that humans will have knowledge that evil exists. The purpose for this statement seems to be to set the stage for what will happen in Genesis 3, which is where evil is personified in the form of a serpent and the newly created couple fall prey to temptation. So the second creation story never tells us that God created evil, although that is the common assumption from the story. But what is the purpose of the story? Is it telling us more about the humans than explaining about the origins of evil? Now, in a sense, for good to exist means that evil must be at least a possibility. Otherwise, why say creation was good, 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 very good? But there's the problem again. The first creation story talks about good as a new possibility. The second creation story presupposes the existence of evil. That is why the human is given the knowledge to know the difference between good and evil. So think about it for a second. How can humans be accountable for their actions and decisions without the knowledge of good and evil? To be able to make a choice means there must be options from which to choose. So does that mean God had to create evil for humans to be cognizant beings? Or could evil simply be a byproduct of creation? Like eating a creature for sustenance means murdering the creature. You can't have one without the other. These kind of questions can really twist our minds and our logic into knots, can't they? I mean, if we really want to get down into the weeds of logic, how about this? Is evil a reality or a description? If I kill an animal or plant to sustain my life, my perspective may be that this action is necessary for survival, and so I don't describe it as evil. But to the plant or animal killed, evil might be exactly the description that they would choose. See, this is why humans may shoot wolves for killing sheep, but humans enjoy lamb chops as a delicacy and don't shoot each other for enjoying the meal. If eating an animal or a plant is a necessary part of survival, does that mean we can be forgiven for taking a life? Because a life is destroyed either way. Hold that thought for a second, because when we get back to the story, it is interesting that awareness comes to the human couple in the second story only when they eat a plant's fruit. Did you notice that? Only once the life of the fruit was taken did the human have their first experience of the knowledge of good and evil. Fascinating stuff, right? But James' question, getting back to it, is, did God create it? So my final answer, if I have to give you an answer, is, in a way, yes. If God created the world, if God created everything that is, then God created the possibility of evil. For there to be the possibility to choose good, then there must be the possibility not to choose good. You see, we were created as humans with free will, not robots who have no choice. The price of this freedom and autonomy is the possibility to choose evil. Or I guess another way you could say that is the possibility not to choose good. Maybe God didn't create evil. Maybe God created the possibility not to choose good. But even when there are no good or great alternative options to choosing good, the truth is the choice remains ours, yours and mine. We have the ability to choose. Maybe you don't exactly choose evil, but there are probably lots of times in all of our lives when we don't choose good. See you next time on Stump the Pastor. Thanks for your question, James. That was a really tough one, actually, when I ended up getting into the weeds of it. I bet some of you have some questions like that as well. I hope you'll send them to me. I love trying to figure them out. My email address is on the bottom of your screen. See you next time on Stump the Pastor.